It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
All right, happy hockey day, everybody. Welcome to Two Guys and a Goalie live right now on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. If you are listening, hit us up, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. And, of course, you can find us on the chat as well. And Penner's Pancake says, Dusty, you cleaned the desk. I did clean the desk. All the packs are still here. They're in basically hold them in a beer box over by the door, and then Eric will throw them back on here in the morning to keep that vibe going here in the main studios at Edmonton Sports Talk. We're in the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen Studios. If you're looking for some lunch right now, go check it out at Popeyes. Go pick up a 12-piece of the sweet and spicy wings for the office, or just for yourself as well. The Edmonton Oilers on the ice this morning. We'll dive into a few things there as well. The National Hockey League says their players will not be using Pride tape for the upcoming season for some reason, so we'll get into that as well. And the Winnipeg Jets, holy smokes, how about the Winnipeg Jets as they go out and drop an absolute bomb on everyone just at the right time. I mean, what a way to get everybody fired up. Let's bring in Matt Kassian and Joaquin Gage. Gage, Cass, happy Tuesday. How you doing, boys?
Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I am, just so everyone knows, I'm now a global correspondent for Two Guys and a Goalie and Edmonton Sports Talk.
No big deal.
I don't think we tweeted. I mean, I sent you guys all the text. I don't think we tweeted it out, but because I'm in Minnesota, went to the Wild game against Dallas, and had a little nice little press pass credential with Edmonton Sports Talk on it, which was beautiful. So thank you to Aaron Sickman, who's the media director of the Minnesota Wild, for hooking the guys up. And I mean, we're globally recognized now, fellas, not just in Canada, globally recognized. The Edmonton Sports Talk and the Two Guys and a Goalie podcast. So pretty sweet.
That's huge. Cass, thanks for taking us international, buddy.
Yeah, well, you know, it was bound to happen sooner or later. It was going to happen. I'm just, you know what? I'm very thankful that I was able to do it, and I didn't even have to busk. So we're good.
But you would have if you had to.
If I had to.
Yeah. Gager, what is this? What's this towel on the shoulder there, bud? What is this?
I'm ready. I'm ready for the hockey season.
You're just ready to get going, eh?
I'm ready to get going. I'm on the bench. I'm ready to go. You know, the old goalies used to wear the towel, Dusty. And now I thought, you know what? Throw the towel on. Stay warm. You never know what could happen here. Might get the call.
Hey, were you goalie towel tucked around the neck into the jersey guy? I remember a lot of backups would have that towel tucked around the neck. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's I tried it once just because I think my buddy dared me to do it. So it was like, so he knew.
My buddy dared me.
And I did it because it was on TV or whatever. But no, I always just doubled up on the shirt. If it was, I mean, most of the rinks in the NHL were I did it more in the minors and some of those cold rinks that to keep you warm, because you'd get that draft from the Zamboni room. I remember St. John was always bad. St. John's was a little bit chilly as well, but yeah, no, NHL rinks, nice and warm.
What did you guys get up to this weekend? Anything of significance?
Watched a lot of football.
Yeah,
a lot of football. Yeah, we're with my wife's family, so a lot of football, a lot of baseball. There was actually I had to break up a few family fights.
Really?
So I got to play the role of referee.
Over baseball or football?
Baseball. Everyone was on the same side of football, but baseball, because Twins and Houston.
Yeah.
So Minnesota, Houston. So it's serious right now. It's serious, and I think it actually worked out well that they split those first two games, because otherwise there could have been bloodshed. So,
was it weird as a Canadian breaking up a fight about baseball?
A little bit. No, I didn't actually have to. They all know where they stand. They all know where they stand. So it's good. They people cheer for whichever team, and it's a friendly rivalry. So it's really good.
All right, boys, we got lots to. Gager, what'd you get up to? You had a little family gathering, but was it a pretty quiet weekend overall for you?
Yeah, I'd say it was. It was the calm before the storm. I guess Friday was fun because with Cass away, Gage will play on the pre and the post game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I got to go see Tommy's apartment. It was deluxe. It's all done by Tommy's mom, but it's funny because there's a little open section that Tommy and I had I think a high tabletop kind of bar would look good there. Of course, Mom wants a dining room table, but Tommy's not going to eat there. He's going to eat at the island, I think. So I suggested the tabletop bar. If you're ever over there, we should maybe start taking a poll of what Tommy should put in that area.
Well, we should have him take a picture of it and get it up online, right?
Yeah, he mentioned something about a swing, and I'm like, I don't know, Tommy.
So you were at Tommy's house?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why were you guys sitting? Why were you sitting together?
Well,
where were you sitting then? Because like you're on two.
I was in the living room.
You were in his living room at his house.
Yeah, and he was in the in the
office
satellite studio.
Yeah,
so which is pretty sweet too. Real nice spare bedroom if things get out of hand and I need a place to crash. So that was I got to get one of my jerseys up in there though. That's all.
Yeah, he has a bunch of jerseys. Yours would kind of fit right in with that crew of jerseys.
Well,
he's got, right?
He told me the story of the Strudwick jersey, which is great. He's got an old Struddy with the fisherman's friend on the front too. So that was pretty neat. But yeah, no, great spot. It just like you walk out the door, you're a straight shot to the rink. Unbelievable location, right next to the Crash Hotel there with that have some of the best old fashions in the city.
Ooh, big old fashioned place, eh?
Yeah.
Might have to get down there so I can watch you guys drink old fashions because I just don't think I can do it yet. Yeah, I try to avoid being an old fashioned guy for a little bit longer. The Oilers were on the ice down at the rink today. The D pairings, Nurse Bouchard, Kulak Ceci, and Broberg with Desharnais, and then Ekholm was taking some drills with Niemelainen, and will probably play 7D. And I guess, I mean, where would you guys come out on Broberg and Desharnais together, mixing in Ekholm until he gets up to speed? Does that make sense when you look at this current group?
Well, do you think they're going to actually run Ekholm if he's not 100%?
Well, if that's the case, then what do you think of Broberg and Desharnais together without Ekholm?
Well, you're going to limit their minutes if you do, right? Like you have to, don't you? Well, I shouldn't say you have to, because you have, from a combo standpoint, it's like you have Desharnais, not a great skater, but big body, takes up a lot of room, and you have Broberg, who's a good skater and really mobile. So I think you're kind of looking at those two and saying, okay, well, there may be something here, but I mean, for Broberg heading into the regular season now, I mean, you want to talk about opportunity and how much opportunity he had in the preseason. This could be a huge, I don't want to say it's like a secondary audition, but it's kind of a secondary audition for him with Ekholm banged up. So, I mean, if Ekholm's good enough to go where he's not going to aggravate it, not going to make it worse, then maybe you work him in there a little bit. But I mean, you're going to see those pairings change the second that he's healthy.
Gage, what do you think?
Huge opportunity for the two. I look at it as a found opportunity to show that they can be a successful third pairing defensive pair. That would be awesome if they could establish that. Yeah, like Cass, I liked their game on Friday. Actually, you saw them together a lot. I thought they moved the puck well. They communicated well together. They were a lot of support. Look, those two are, I've said it before, they need to take a huge step this year and be a reliable option for the coaching staff. And from what I saw in that last final game, it looked like they were prepared to have a good start to the regular season.
We'll see how they work that together with the blue line. If you are listening live, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. We talked about it a little bit earlier on today with Gager on the Nielsen show today, Cass. I want to bring you into this chat. How do you gauge success for Darnell Nurse this year?
Plus player 5-on-5. I think is going to be a big part of it, like having a healthy plus minus. And I'm not a big fan of plus minus at times. Like I don't think it tells the whole story, but Maybe what I mean by plus player is not necessarily just this, when you look at the normal stats, a plus player like plus minus, but he has to shut down the other team's best players when he has that opportunity to do so. And so I don't like, I'm not looking at a points total from him to say this is how many points he has to have to be successful. But to me, it's like gauging a successful season is if he can string together a series of games, 6 or 7 or 8 games in a row where he is part of creating more offense than the opportunities and the defensive opportunities given up. So from chance creation, from actual goals scored, actual goals given up, like to me, that's going to be success for him, because I mean, it's some of the stuff that is going to be a little harder to quantify, like some of the forced turnovers. I mean, I guess some of it you can, but I'm not looking at hard numbers for him. It's like the entirety of Darnell Nurse's season has to be him playing well enough that he's able to carry his game at a high level into the playoffs. And so I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. Gager, did you pick like hard numbers on this?
No. I was full because you can't. I don't think numbers dictate enough of what Darnell Nurse to look at his season as a success. I don't think that depends on numbers. I think it depends on who he's playing against, how successful he is in the defensive zone and shutting down the other team's top players. I mentioned that he has to be counted on in a 1-goal game, playing the last 2 minutes and just being that guy that you feel comfortable that the other team is not going to get a chance. He's going to snuff out everything. Once the other team builds momentum, he's going to go out there and be that Jeff Probst and put out the flame and kick him off the island. That's what he has to do.
And I want to see him playing with that nastiness all the time too. Again, like pretty tough to quantify it, especially with the way that the NHL tracks hits. But I want to see him play with the net. Like if he can play, I'm going to say 80% of the time, 8 out of 10 games, even 7 out of 10 games. If he can play with a little bit of that nasty in his game, that to me is a big success and a big win for him.
Yeah, I find it interesting to see, like, part of me thinks if you could play the whole season with Bouchard and help make Bouchard more reliable defensively and free up Ekholm to work on another pair, I mean, everything you guys have kind of talked about would lead to that with Darnell Nurse. But I think if we're not sitting here, I guess it's because I expect more from Nurse than I do from Bouchard defensively. So if we're not sitting here in mid-November going, man, you can't play Nurse and Bouchard together anymore, to me that would mean Darnell Nurse has been doing his job through the first 5-6 weeks of the season, which at that point would be something significant to build on, I would think.
Yeah, definitely.
I would hope.
You hope.
Penner's Pancake says, if Nurse gets 10 goals, 30 assists, and is around plus 25 and averaging 23 minutes time on ice while shutting down top guys, then what else do people want, right? And I think he's capable. The thing is, Darnell Nurse is capable of putting up those numbers even when he has the ups and downs in his game, right? Like that's how good he can be, is that he can put together a season like that, and there's still be people even like, well, yeah, but Darnell Nurse had 2 excellent scoring chances against tonight because he was laying on his belly, and nobody's going to be happy. He is in a tough spot to make everybody happy, right, Cass?
Yeah, but I just had an epiphany. I just had an epiphany as you were talking. I was like, and as Penner's Pancakes texted in those hard numbers, because it's like, well, some of this stuff is hard to quantify with numbers, like you said, Dusty, like the ups and the downs. Here's maybe, let me know what you guys think of this. Do we gauge Darnell Nurse's success based on the success of whoever is his D partner?
Gage, what do you think?
Ooh, that's a good question, Cass. I think so. He should be a guy that can pull someone along for the ride and make them a better player because he's playing with Darnell Nurse. That's what great players do, is they make people around them better, right? You shouldn't, his status on the team and where he is, I think that's what type of player Darnell. I agree with you, Cass. I think that should happen. Whoever Darnell Nurse is playing with this year, that person should have a really good year because Darnell's ability is beyond what it's been up to this point, and he's making everyone around him better.
As you think too, Cass?
Yeah, I think, and not just from a number standpoint, to me, it's like if Darnell Nurse, regardless of who he's paired with, regardless of who he's playing with, if he improves their game or they have, let's say, good underlying numbers together. Again, I don't hate analytics. This is actually where you can help evaluate the past. You don't predict the future. If his numbers are good and his partner's numbers are good too, and players have more success playing with him than not playing with him, to me, that's a huge, huge, huge sign of success for Darnell Nurse.
All right, if you want to chime in, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Mark is in. Hey, boys, checking in from Warsaw, Poland. I'm beyond surprised Raphael Lavoie cleared waivers. If the Oilers recall him, does he need to clear waivers again? I liked his preseason and wanted to see a game or two, and then Mark clarified he's on his honeymoon in Poland. He's a Sherwood Park guy.
10 roster games. Congrats on the honeymoon.
Come up for 10 games and then has to clear again. Right?
Yeah, and then has to 10 roster games has to clear again, or 30 days, whatever comes first. I believe it is, or 20. It might be 28 days.
So he's cleared now, so they could bring him back up. He could play 7 games and go down without having to clear again.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Depending on the days, because if it's I think it's 28 total days. Okay. I think it might be 30 in that range. So it's whatever happens first. So 20 days on the roster or 10 games.
How about Mark, not just listening and watching from Poland, but on the honeymoon? Honeymoon. Like part of me wants to say like, hey, man, that's great. But the other part of me goes, it's your honeymoon. What time is it in Poland right now? I'm going to look at what time is it in Warsaw because it's probably late at night while you're on your honeymoon. I would hope you probably have some better things to do.
Well, but maybe the spouse we don't know the spouse. Maybe the spouse likes hockey too. Maybe the spouse is.
Are they watching as a couple? Yeah.
Together. Exactly.
Everyone needs to take a break once in a while, Dusty.
It's 8:20 p.m. So it's 8:20. They're 8 hours ahead of us. So it's 8:20 p.m. Probably just finishing up like a nice dinner and a little bit of downtime with 2 guys and a goalie. And then attempting to conceive a child right after, I guess, is how it works for some people on their honeymoon.
2 guys and a goalie baby. Wow, yeah. That's something else.
That would be something else. Anyway, thank you very much. If you have any questions, hit us up there in the YouTube chat or 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. They're on the train. They're on the train right now, so I can understand why you'd be listening to the show, I guess. Unless you got one of those cool little train rooms. Did you guys ever stay in one of those train rooms in your Gage? Or what about you travel overseas? Like,
no, I know what you're talking about. Those were too expensive. But the seats in Germany, on the bullet trains, they were comfy. You could just sit on those. It was great.
Train travel in Europe is unbelievable. It's the best.
Well, how about that Wi-Fi? We're coming in crystal clear on a bullet train, probably going 290 kilometers an hour. That's great.
We're talking as fast as we possibly can, being on the train, and you're going so quick. All right, let's just stick with the Oilers here. Come out of the gate hot here. Do you think do they come out and make a statement to the league on Wednesday night in their opener on the road, or what are we talking about post game here with the Oilers tomorrow? What's the prediction here for this first game, boys?
I sure hope so. I don't want to see another situation where they're kind of up and down and up and down and up and down for the first 2.5 months of the season. I'd like to see Edmonton run at this and be the best team in the Western Conference all year long, to be the team to beat in the Western
Conference.
Wire to wire. And I think to do that, you have to come out swinging. And it seems to me the attitude is of that they're enough is enough, Stanley Cup or bust, like, let's go. I think you're going to see that. So I'm really hoping, and I would like to think that this is how it's going to be, that they come out and they make a huge statement. That would be awesome. I mean, if they come out and against Vancouver, they just control the game, control the pace, control the offense, force them to take penalties, power play, is sharp and crisp right from the get-go. I mean, that to me is going to set you up. Like if you come out swinging and you swing and you plant one, they should be a Mike Tyson team this year, right? Like you're coming out of the gate and you're coming out of the gate hot. That's what I want to see, is you are throwing punches early. Now, still playing defense when you have to play defense, but I want to see them just take it to Vancouver. The first 2 games here, like just take it to them. Just take it to them. Just start off hot, come out angry, play mad, play like you're upset that you didn't get to the Stanley Cup final and you didn't win a cup. Like just come out and is a word I used over and over on the pregame show last year. I'm probably going to use it over and over this year too, is come out and be intentional with your will to win.
Ooh, God, I like it. Is that another way of saying focused?
Yeah.
Okay.
Focused and hungry.
Yeah, no, a couple of different things there. Gage, I'll tell you, if they lose on Wednesday, the Nielsen show on Thursday morning is going to be a hoot. I already like that. Like that game 1 meltdown. I'm not sure the online Edmonton sports talk community is ready for that, buddy.
Yeah, a part of me, a small part, would like to see the anger manifest itself on the Nielsen empire here and see imagine the nasty chat. It'll get the double nasty chat when that happens. But like Cass said, and I said it before, they gotta throw on the softs and get the lead here, Dusty, just because they're going to get the best game from every other team. They're not going to catch anyone by surprise. Every team knows that if they don't bring their best, they'll probably get embarrassed by the Edmonton Oilers, which I think is a good thing. It's going to prepare you more throughout the season. There's a lot more mature players with the Oilers now, and look, it's the building to game 83 is what Coach Woodcroft, or the audition, or until game 83. This is the building process to get your team in the right window to go on a run. And they can't have a situation last year where they're almost looking at the playoffs from outside, and they're losing their standings and having to drop the hammer late in the season to battle for positioning and home ice advantage.
Well,
I think it would be in their best interest to finish first in the division, get that home ice at least for the first 2 rounds, and go from there.
So the last 2 years, they have started 9-1 and 10-3, or 7-3 in their first 10. But then it's like that November window and December, and you're going, okay, what's going so it's been a little bit of a letdown. They start this year, their first 10 this year. So keep in mind, I think I saw Jack Michaels who had tweeted that out. 9-1 and 7-3 the last few years. Their first 10 this year, home and home with the Canucks, non-playoff team last year. The Preds, non-playoff team. Flyers, non-playoff team. Then they get Winnipeg, Minnesota, the Rangers, the Flames, and the Stars, I think, the Stars and the Predators again in their first 10. So there's definitely a few stiff tests along the way. But when you start against the Canucks and the Preds, and we know what Draisaitl does to the Preds, and then the Philadelphia Flyers, who should be an absolute mess once again this year, the table is set here, Cass, for a really nice start for these guys.
Yep. 9-1.
Take advantage. 9-1.
9-1. Let's go 9-1.
Cass has called it.
The loss is probably going to be that first one, and people are going to lose their minds. Yeah.
And then they'll run off 9 in a row, and everybody will be okay.
No, I mean, I think if you come out of that first 10 this year, you look at the schedule. If you come out of that, and maybe that's something we can talk about quick, is what does success in the first 10 games look like?
Okay.
And to me, that's like either a 7-2-1 start or an 8-2 start. I think that would be ideal. You come out of the gates hot. You come out swinging. Again, I want to see them be the best team in the league, wire to wire here, and the best team in the West at the least, wire to wire. So I got high expectations heading into this, gentlemen.
Gager, where do we come out? Where do we come out on 6-3-1?
I want is that 17 points? Well, depending.
6-3-1 would be 13 points.
13. No, I want 17 points.
Woo!
17 points in the first 10. That's where I want them.
Nine or eight,
You-
8-1-1.
You guys really do like this team this year, eh?
Wait,
Yeah. Well, the first 3 games are, those are hors d'oeuvres, right? There's a few entrees later on, but I don't see it. I can see them.
Oh, the post-game show will be interesting on Wednesday night if they don't take care of business against the Canucks. They lose to the Canucks. Nurses -2. Tommy goes for 3 hours on the post-game show because people are absolutely just incensed with it. All right, if you have any questions for us, hit us up. 780-218-9999. That is the text line, 780-218-9999. Hey, guys, it seems like things are heading towards Ernie signing a contract once Niemelainen is healthy enough to send down. What are your thoughts about Ernie's play in the preseason? Once again, I mean, when you look at how the roster is sort of currently constructed, a lot of people are wondering exactly what's going to happen. Niemelainen will have to be sent down when he is healthy, and then they could sign Ernie to a contract. At that point, I mean, they could call somebody else back up, I think. Do you guys think Ernie's done enough to earn a contract here? And Cass, what would he bring to the bottom 6?
he's right on the edge of has he done enough? I mean, I think if you would have asked me most of the preseason, I would have been like, yeah, he's probably not getting a contract. But he might.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you think though? Like, do you think as an organization, are you gonna sign Ernie? Or are you gonna want Lavoie to come up? Like, and I know positionally, yeah. I don't know, guys. I don't know if he signs. I don't know if he did enough. I mean, what does he bring to the bottom 6? I mean, he seems to have a pretty good work ethic. Seems to be decently consistent, at least through the preseason. He was.
I think the one thing that he's got going for him is he's played almost 400 games in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's played 355 games in the NHL. You can't say that about Peterson. Gagne's not going to be able to go. Raphael Lavoie is not. I mean, he's just starting his National Hockey League career. Gager, do you think they look at that? And you know, they brought in Sutter. He obviously, it didn't work out. Malone was never going to get the spot. Do you think that NHL experience is the difference maker here for Ernie? I mean, he's played 355 games, which is more than basically everybody else who legitimately had a spot at that shot combined.
Well, I would rather Ernie playing 6-7 minutes than Lavoie up here playing 6-7 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think that helps his progress. I think Lavoie should be down in the minors playing 20 minutes, and then if something happens, he becomes that call up that starts to contribute at that point. I don't mind that. Just having an experienced veteran who's been in the league, knows what it's like to be in a game, probably not playing a ton, and preparing himself as a professional and trying to just playing within himself. Lavoie, he had an okay camp, right? But there's still a lot of work there, I think, that needs to be done for him to be considered a everyday NHLer. And yeah, I don't want them to get into another situation where they have a young guy just sitting on the bench, kind of like Holloway last season, right? So I'd rather have an expendable veteran chewing up those types of minutes instead of one of my prospects.
Nobody cares if Ernie plays 6 minutes, right, Cass? Kind of like what Gager said.
No, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair, Gager.
He also provides a little more oomph than they might get from a few other guys in the bottom 6 too. So if he does end up getting a contract, I guess those would be a couple of reasons why. We'll get to tonight's light schedule, 3 games to kind of get going. We'll quickly just hit on all 3 of those. But the Winnipeg Jets, boys, they're talking about Adam Ernie contract. Let's flip on over to the Winnipeg Jets out of nowhere. And I know Huss and Winnipeg, they've been talking about, like, what happens? What's the direction of this franchise? So Huss last week on the Lock Shop, we were talking. He said, listen, the Jets could not start well, trade away a bunch of pieces, and finish bottom 5 in the National Hockey League. Or he goes, things could click, and they could be a top 10 team in the National Hockey League. So there is this massive gap of what this team could end up being. I will say, when I saw the news that they had signed both Scheifele and Hellebuck to the contracts that they had, and not from a numbers perspective, I thought it was a pretty good deal for both of these guys. Now, these guys are going to cash in through their 30s on these contracts, but I was a little surprised that it got done. Cass, let's start with you, man. What do you think of the decision here?
With all the turmoil that Winnipeg has gone through, I was a little surprised it got done as early as it did. I would have thought it maybe would have waited a little bit to see how, like, for both of those guys to see how the season went. I still think Hellebuyck, I guess he's earned it, but he's too expensive now as a goalie. Like that's a lot of money to pay one goalie. And I know he plays a lot of games. I know he's really good, one of the best in the league. We all had him on our list in the top 50 guys we want to start a franchise with. I think as an organizational standpoint, I mean, you're sending a pretty strong message, both to the fans as well as to that dressing room, that you expect big things, that you expect that you're still going to be a challenging team, a good team, one of the top teams in the league. But yeah, I was a little surprised, gentlemen, that it happened as early as it did. I thought they would have waited to see a little bit how the season went, but I guess if the money was there and the offers were on the table for both of those guys to say, hey, let's lock this in, let's lead this group, let's be a part of this, we think we're going in the right direction here. I mean, there you go, I guess.
I was looking up the tax rates in Manitoba too, because they're a little bit off.
Well, you guys are financial guys, right? You get it.
Well, hey, that's after-tax income of $4.2 million. So $4,247,264. So a 50.4% marginal tax rate. I was surprised. Like, Alberta's the best place to play, so that should be a draw from most people. But it's a lot of take home. And your dollar probably stretches a little bit further in Manitoba with living and homes and stuff, and they've been there for a while, so they're familiar with the place. I like it. We called for the Jets to do something years ago too, and I was a little bit, I would say I was disappointed. I was thinking, oh, they're not going to keep Scheifele, Hellebuck's going to be gone, that team's going to be decimated. I'm happy for the fans of Winnipeg to see superstars in the NHL pick their home as Winnipeg, and they have two really solid players that are going to be an instrumental part of their success moving forward. But although it doesn't fall into the Cass rule of goaltending, that I hate that I agree with it. I love that he got paid, but I do think that 8.5 number should encompass both goalies. When you pay one goalie that much, you're really limiting yourself with if something happens, adding other people. I know maybe because the cap will go up over the next few years, it'll help. But this year, if the Winnipeg Jets are on the cusp or looking to add, their options are going to be extremely limited because of not so much Scheifele, I would say more because of the Hellebuyck contract.
Yeah, and your depth suffers eventually. At some point, your depth suffers because of it, because that's money that goes to, you have a player coming off an entry-level deal that's going to command more, or you have a player that's now also going to be unrestricted. It's like a mid-level player or a bottom six forward, let's say, a bottom six centerman that maybe would get $3.5 million. And now you don't have that because, you're paying your backup $2.5 million. And you have like 11 million in total almost on your goalies. And now all of a sudden you're a little bit tighter, and cap going up does help. I will agree. I mean, I would say, with the goalies, cap goes up. I kind of run, it's like roughly 10%. That to me is like your goaltending, your two goalies give you roughly 10% of the cap ish, in that range. And so if the cap goes up significantly, well then, you have a little bit more margin there, but it can hurt your depth. But for them, it's going to be, it's a win in the next 2 to 3 years mode, really, with these two deals. It has to be. It really has to be. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, and that's why, I don't want to be the prick. I'm not trying to take a shot at the Jets. I just genuinely wonder if this is the best thing for the Winnipeg Jets organization, as opposed to, maybe being able to move these guys for a pretty, look what Dubois was in a different stage of his career. I understand it. But Cheveldayoff has done some pretty good job being in a tough spot. I mean, just getting these guys signed because that's what the Jets wanted is a great job to do that. I just wonder if you're trying to hang on to something here for the next 2 to 3, 4 years that's not really going to happen anyway, when I guess at that point you could still trade Hellebuyck and Scheifele and they'd be 33 and 34 or something like that and get some significant pieces back. I just don't look at the Jets and go, oh, well, that's it then. They're going to win a Stanley Cup now with this group here. I kind of partially think you might have been better off turning these guys into significant pieces for the future that you can build around with some of the guys that you've already secured. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it.
Yeah, you make a good point, Dusty. But I mean, the intangible of Hellebuck getting into the playoffs, he has the ability to
People would worry, right? People would be
worried, or like you got to figure who would he go up against going into a playoff series that you wouldn't consider the Winnipeg Jets having the edge in goal? Like, I don't think there's one, right? So.
If you want to chime in on that, like I said, I don't want that. Good for the Jets. I'm happy for them to continue this. I wonder if in 3 years we're like, dang, they should have, and they can still move them then, I guess. I just don't think you get as much as you would right now, and you know how people are with contracts at that stage of their career. Let's get to one text here, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Brent, retired Dirty Bird. I used to play with him. Best known for blowing up Jesperson at a fundraising hockey game. I remember this exact play. I think it was like my first or second. I met these guys through a charity event that they did, ended up playing on the rec league team for a while. I'm pretty sure this is Titler, I think was his last name. Anyway, he absolutely crushed Jespo in behind the net. You know that famous Wendell Clark hit in behind the net? Yeah. It was like that, but, charity rec league version of it. Anyway, he's asking, help me understand how Gleason doesn't earn a spot in the Oil after his solid camp. Are they really better off with Vinny Desharnais? This is what happens in several spots around the league, right, guys? A mid-20s guy who looks like he can play now, but he wasn't originally in the plans. You could almost say the same thing about Desharnais, 18 to 24 months ago. I guess I don't think any of us were surprised. Because and it might not, I mean, Gleason did look better than Vincent Desharnais, but Desharnais, big right shot guy, he's going to kill penalties for you. Like, there's lots of reasons this happened. And so when Gleason goes down, just to follow up on Brent's question, like, is Gleason happy with this camp he had, or is he kind of disappointed that, man, I played probably as good as I can play and I still didn't make an NHL team?
Well, I think it's pretty disappointing. I mean, anytime you don't make a team, you're disappointed.
But you're kind of on that depth chart now as number 8.
As number 8, so you did something. At the least you did something, but you were in a tough spot from a contract standpoint. You were in a tough spot from a purely number standpoint, and you were going to not just have to be a little bit better. You're going to have to be so much better that you force the issue. And I mean, for a guy like that, you're looking at it going, okay, well, if someone gets hurt and I get an opportunity, I have to just run with it. Preseason is a different animal than the regular season. So yeah, I mean, it's hard from a personal standpoint. I mean, it's not fun. Gager's been there too, like where you're kind of, you have a good camp or you think you're playing really well, but because you don't have the right contract, because you just purely of the numbers, you're not getting an opportunity. It's tough. It's tough to deal with.
Yeah. It sucks.
Gager,
it really, really sucks.
Did you have, give me that camp story. Like, was there one camp where you're like, okay, like this is my spot, and then it just didn't happen? Like, did that happen a bunch of times? Or
I would say the one Oiler camp, my first year pro, I was rock solid throughout the whole camp and got to the final exhibition game in Dallas, and even because what happened the year prior, Fred Brathwaite beat out Wayne Cowley, and that came out of the blue completely. Didn't help. Cowles was inebriated at the golf tournament with the beer to cart girls on his leg, just hooting and hollering. But I think that was part of it. But Freddie really outperformed him in that camp. And so that was kind of the carrot that I saw. And even to the point when Freddie, we were good friends, he was like, hey, settle down here. Like, you don't have to play that well. Like he was honestly a little bit nervous, but he had the one-way deal. I had a two-way. He had established himself the year prior, and getting sent down, I was like, geez, what do I have to do? And so there's that initial poopy pants moment going down to the minors, but then it's you got to pull the bootstraps up and prove to them it wasn't a fluke that you didn't have a good camp. That's what Gleason has to do most. He has to go down there and become an all-star in the American Hockey League and make sure that when injuries happen, and they will happen, that he's on that next flight to Edmonton.
Yeah, I don't know if fans were losing their mind over it. I think it'd kind of be ridiculous if they were. Guy had a good camp. I thought he looked better in camp than Broberg or Desharnais, but you weren't penciling him in here ahead of those guys. Like you just weren't. So, he clears waivers, very much like Raphael Lavoie, and the fact these guys clear waivers because every other organization has these guys already in their organization who they don't have room for themselves, right? It's the same type of thing. There are a lot of excellent hockey players who aren't in the National Hockey League because of contracts, because they just aren't good enough, but they're still really good and they're close. We'll say, like, I wouldn't peg him to go down in the American League, be an all-star this year. I mean, he'll just be a guy who gets brought up to play 4 or 5 games when somebody gets hurt, or maybe not at all because they have 7 defensemen anyway, and they can still just roll with 6 if somebody gets banged up, right? So,
and this was the perfect time to send Lavoie down, right? Like everyone has their own rosters. They're trying to negotiate there might have been way more interest, and he probably would have gotten picked up if this is during the regular season where there are injuries to other teams and guys are getting shuffled around and rosters have a little more, are fluctuating a little bit more at that point. But yeah, I think this was the safest time to send him down.
Yeah, you try to squeeze him in there, but all the teams do that, right? Is you wait till the waiver wire is going to be big, and you try to squeeze.
But did you guys think Lavoie like had to be here to start the year? I mean, if you can sneak him through, you might as well sneak him through. I think he might have been okay in a non-sneak through situation. It's not like he scored 5 goals and went full Ty Ratty or Perlini in the preseason, right? Like he had a good preseason, but I don't think there's other NHL teams going, oh yeah, leave him out there for us to scoop him up, right? Like he didn't move the needle that much.
No, he needed to have a Holloway or, like you mentioned, a Perlini or Ratty camp to warrant any sort of interest in picking him up, and it was good, but not at a level where they're willing to pick him up.
I'd say I thought he looked better than I thought. Like he looked better than I thought he would. So I mean, it looks like there's going to be an NHL player there at some point. I think it's fair to probably say. 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. You can also hit us up in the chat there as well. Elliot Friedman tweeting out a couple of minutes ago. There's word this afternoon that Vancouver has granted Connor Garland permission to meet with other teams about a potential trade, tight cap situation, to see if there's a better fit around the National Hockey League. Just quickly, any thoughts? The Oilers are going to be opening up here against the Vancouver Canucks. We've dove into them a little bit. Connor Garland's he's a good player, but I don't know if there's a lot of teams who are saying, we've got to find the cap space to go and take advantage of the Canucks here and get our hands on Connor Garland. Do you guys?
Small, quick guy, like skilled, but I like him as a player, actually. Yeah, it's like he always does something that I notice in Canucks games, but no, the way everything is now, I don't think he's not going to be an Oiler anytime soon.
Cass, what do you think that's like for guys who now it's out there that, hey, feel free to go chat with somebody?
You have given it's not your GM calling other teams because he's probably called other teams already at this point.
So now your teammates know, right? They're like, oh, okay, like what's going on here? Like,
it's not even that your teammates probably know before. Guys talk about that stuff all the time. I mean, like,
but you just keep grinding away, like nothing changes at all in any way. Like,
well, you keep grinding away, but again, the tough thing in this situation is it's not your GM calling other GMs to be like, hey, do you have interest in this player? It's like up to the player and the player's agent to call other teams, which it probably tells me there's not a ton of interest out there.
3 games tonight in the National Hockey League, including Connor Bedard versus his hero, Sidney Crosby. The Pittsburgh Penguins over at our betting partners at CoolBet are minus 239 favorites. Connor Bedard was plus 190 to score a goal this morning when we made it our CoolBet hotline of the day. That's now moved to plus 162 as the money continues to trickle in. Special guys step up in special moments. Gager, is there a Connor Connor Bedard goal coming tonight in the National Hockey League? And will it be one goal in a 6-1 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I was going to say 7-1. I was going to say 7-1. Yeah.
No, he's going to Matthews it up. Quick 4 goals first game. Isn't that what Matthews did? No, I don't know about that. But this is a huge moment. Doesn't matter if you're like the number 1 pick or you were picked in the middle of the 5th round. Your first game's something special. And the juices are really flying and especially to put on like a Blackhawks jersey going up against Sidney Crosby. Like this is a moment that Bedard will remember the rest of his career. I wouldn't put it past him. I'm going to call for him to probably put 2 in tonight.
Whoa.
Dustin.
Whoa.
Yeah. Just more so because guys heard about him. They know he's good, but that release, he's going to get a little bit more time tonight than at least in these first few games than he probably will the rest of the season. I think he's going to pot 2.
Cass, you think he's going to score 2 tonight?
I think he gets 1.
Yeah.
7-1 Pittsburgh. It'd be poetic. And I don't want to be anti-poetic. The hockey romantic in me is like, yeah, he kind of has to.
Right, against Sidney Crosby. And if these 2 guys aren't taking the face-off tonight, whoever the coach is that's ruining that moment will be dead to me forever. Like, how do you not have the above shot of Bedard in his first game facing off against Sidney Crosby? I mean, it should basically be scripted in by the National Hockey League.
It has to be. It's just like how Kelsey put Taylor Swift on the map with like where the NFL totally scripted her being there. It's all rigged. It's all planned. It should be the same for the starting lineups tonight.
What was
Babcock would have sat them both?
Yeah, Sid, Connor, not tonight. You're both. We're gonna give the face-off.
You're both out.
To Lucas Reichel, and I don't know. Throw a Pittsburgh Penguin in there that's not named Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin. We'll see what happens on that front. The Golden Knights open up tonight at home. Banner raising there for them. Do you see those rings that they got? Man, when does it stop with the rings? Like, I'm talking from just how much more can you add to it though? Like I'm talking from like a technology perspective. How much more can you do? Like there's a hidden rink inside it. It makes noise. I don't know how much more creative you can get.
Wasn't it like it can be a medallion too, like with the top or whatever? And what's cool about the actual rink, it shows you where the goals came from. Like there's little stars of which is I mean, Mark Stone must be like over the moon with that thing. But yeah, it's pretty gaudy. Like Jack Eichel, I saw him put it on and you could barely see the rest of his hand with that thing. So
I love it.
Yeah, I think they should just go nuts. I think it should be all the way across the knuckles. Why not?
Oh, I like that.
Multi-knuckle ring.
In Alberta, like I don't know. I mean, even you could. I mean, a lot of guys wouldn't go this way, but if you should have your choice, I would go with the belt buckle. Just have a huge satellite Wrangler belt buckle Stanley Cup champion that you can maybe switch the ring to the belt buckle. How about that?
Well, you know what? I think I love it. I love how big and gaudy it is. It's reminiscent of when I close out our F1 fantasy pool this year. I'm probably going to get something similar.
No, you're getting a little trophy that Gage gives out.
It's a huge trophy, and there's still time left. Although I think I'm out. I messed up.
You know what I want to see next on the ring game? This would be kind of. First of all, you could go full Infinity Gauntlet. That would be kind of neat, like a different color for each round, and then that would be cool. But I also like. Remember Spaceballs, the power of the Schwartz, and you would use the ring. Yeah. So what would be cool is you take off the top of the ring, or even just on the ring, you push a button, and you pull it up against like a white wall, and it plays the entire clinching game. Like it has the entire game that projects off the ring, or even your celebration off the ring onto a wall or a screen. There's got to be technology for that can be done. Like let's take it to another level.
It's we need a jeweler sponsor. Dusty? Do we have a jeweler?
Well, we have Paris
sponsor for
Jewelers
this?
on the inbox for
Paris
Edmonton
Jewelers,
Sports
yeah.
Talk. They've got
Yeah, so
they've got the Star Wars things, which I actually wanted to skip over Star Wars because I got one episode left of Ahsoka. How much you guys got left of Ahsoka?
I finished it.
I finished it.
Oh, you finished already, Gage? Are you caught and past me? My God.
Usually that's what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
After-
Well, I will finish Ahsoka. Is the final episode really good?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Did you watch Loki?
Not yet.
Oh, I watched Loki. I guess that's why you're ahead of me. I watched Loki on the plane, and I have to tell you, I don't want to jump the gun here too much, but the MCU is back. Like,
Okay.
like Loki season 2, episode 1 was unreal. I love it. But I'm also like a time travel nerd. So it's bringing like all my favorite things together. So maybe that's why I love it. But I thought it was great.
Corey is going, I don't let a butcher get mad at you. All right. Cause he direct messaged me and said, hey, thanks for mentioning Acme Meats, I really appreciate, but come on, finish Ahsoka already. I'm waiting for you three to start talking about it. So now it's the Acme Meats is all on you, Dusty, to finish Ahsoka so Corey can get his Two Guys fix and Star Wars at the same time.
I mean, probably is there a big twist at the end of the final episode here that you guys can't tell
We're
me?
not ruining
Okay,
anything.
all right.
I'm not saying
Gage, are you doing like a slow head nod there though? Like,
no, I didn't.
oh, okay.
It was
doing a
active
lean.
listening. It was active listening.
Is that what that was?
It was it was active listening. He's just letting you know that he was listening to
I
you.
do.
Yeah,
I do
body
think I
language.
don't know who all is going to be involved in episode 8. I think I might have watched like the first 10 minutes of it. But man, Admiral Thrawn is awesome. Like that character is extremely well done. I don't know if you guys have. I know, Cass, you've watched some of the other shows and stuff. Like, are they hitting Thrawn? Is that how it's supposed to be?
Yeah. Well, he was in the books. Like there was a couple books that were written that were really, really good. And he was that was where he was invented. Timothy Zahn, I think, was the author of those 3, that little trilogy. And it was great because and the reason he was a great character was like most Imperials all through Star Wars, they always ruled through fear, right? Like it was always like fear and power. And him, it's like, no, he rules through loyalty. It's like, because he's really, really smart. He rewards his people well. He takes good care of his troops. And so they want want to be on his side because he's a pretty big BA. So yeah, he's legit and very much evil. And evil, but it's like he pulls people to him because he's a charismatic evil versus just a scary evil. So yeah, he's been spot on so far.
Gager is like, to me, what I've seen of him so far, he seems very like calm and cool. And like, is there another level here? Like, I haven't seen this super badass just yet. Tell me, does it happen before this season 1 ends?
He's very smart.
Okay.
Like, and knows how to navigate fighting Jedi. Let's just say that.
He's a tactician.
Yes, that's
He's a
the word for
tactician.
it.
So it's so it's very
10
much
moves ahead.
Yeah, so that's very much like, I mean, you see it with the troops in the fighting where he's like, okay, well, we'll go this, but we're not going to bother fighting them out here. Like, they don't have the time, so we're just going to back off.
Yeah.
Like, why would I waste this? Like, it's his badness is his brain, right? Like he beats you with his brain, and that's what makes him interesting.
Is there another dose of Anakin coming?
I think we can't.
I like the like in episode 7 when she's doing the training and he was on the video and kind of going around. I thought, I don't know, man. I got more time for Anakin mixed in here before we wrap this thing, and maybe even more on a future show down the road as well. All right, prediction for tonight. We said Connor Bedard. Gager likes him for 2. Castings will get 1 because that's what big players do. Is there an upset in the cards tonight before we wrap things up? Nashville's on the road in Tampa. Tampa's a heavy favorite. Seattle, do they go in to Vegas and ruin the party there?
I say no upsets.
All 3 winners tonight. All the home teams.
All 3 winners. Yep, home winners tonight.
I think there's a little bit of a Stanley Cup hangover in Vegas after getting those rings. How do you not get crushed after that? I think the Kraken are going to go in there and spoil the party.
Oh.
But that's the only one.
We'll see how it plays out when we are back on Thursday. We will be breaking down an Edmonton Oilers hockey game right here on Two Guys and a Goalie, which is going to be insanely
Crazy.
fun to start doing again here, especially with the new format at edmontonsportstalk.com. Both you guys being involved.
Oh, Cass has something.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Cass. What do you got?
Oh yeah, no. But before we wrap up, I just wanted to do a quick shout out. So as you guys know, Hockey Helps the Homeless, big fundraising tournament,
Yep.
and I got drafted second overall,
did.
which was a shock, shock to everybody.
We'll never forget it.
We'll never forget it. So I just wanted to throw a shout out for the Puccaneers Hockey Club in Edmonton, Puccaneers HC on Twitter, and I believe they're on Instagram too. But they're doing a massive fundraising event for the whole month of October. So they got themselves pink uniforms. They're raising a ton of money for cancer research. So I told them I'd give them a shout.
Well,
out.
where can we just go on their socials and then find links to
go on their socials.
That
find
seemed like
links.
a good group of dudes, buddy. I'm not gonna lie.
It's an awesome group of guys. Nothing too serious, which I love. We won their first ever game at the tournament with me there, which I loved. So it was great. We had a lot of fun. They're just wonderful people. Trying to get together and raise some money for a great cause. So check out their socials, Puccaneers HC on Twitter. Can't remember the Instagram tag off the top of my head, but just look up Puccaneers.
Yeah,
Hockey.
we'll find it and tweet it out too. Yeah. That's a good cause as always. All right, that's gonna do it for this episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. Thank you very much for listening live at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow, obviously, we got a replay of the Nielsen show coming up. That'll lead into Lock Shop a little bit later on here on the live stream today, and then tomorrow morning we'll be live at 6:00 with the Nielsen show, getting you ready for the Edmonton Oilers season opener. I think that we'll break down on Two Guys and a Goalie on Thursday at noon as well. Boys, we'll talk to you then. See you later.